Check, check. Good day, everybody. We are just about noon here. Food is ready, and so if folks would like to start in the line, I think the line starts over here, and please make your way over to grab yourself something to eat and come back to the tables, and then we will be starting the formal part of the business meeting as soon as everybody gets seated. So. Looks like Keith's going to start us off. Oh, Keith's going to the washroom. Sorry, can somebody... Ed, do you want to start on the meal? There we go. Everybody follow Ed, and you will get fed. Thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Please, obviously, continue reading. Maybe first of all, I'd like to just thank the folks here at Real for putting on this lunch for us. If you can give them a hand, thank you very much. Looks like there's plenty of dessert, so if you brought your Tupperware or plastic bags, I'm sure they wouldn't mind. My name is Colin Poular. I'm the president of the association, and I'd like to welcome you all here. Before we get going, I just wanted to mention a couple of housekeeping things. If for any reason we've got to leave the building quickly, there are staircases to either side of this room. You'll see the signs here on the ceiling. We will exit the building, and our muster point would be behind me, where there's a sign that says administration building. There's a muster sign right by there. The washrooms, we don't know where they are. They're men's and ladies' washrooms on either side of me here. People put up their hand, they got first aid, CPR. Put your hand up real quick. Okay, these people are your new best friends, so be nice to them. Don't choke on your chicken. If for any reason you decide you want to stop your heart, put up your hand, and we've got an AED device that will apply to you as needed. So other than that, I'll introduce to you Ryan Sumantra, who is a manager with Grant Construction here in Saskatchewan and chairperson of our board of directors to start the meeting. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you very much, Colin. I hope everybody's enjoying the meal. It was fantastic as they get right done before coming up here. So we'll get right into this. Call the meeting to order. First thing I'm going to start off with is introductions. And a few of the board members couldn't make it today, being out of town. The majority of us were able to come, so I'll kind of go through the list. Before I do this, as chairman, I've had a great year. This has been an interesting year. Through COVID and changes that have gone through the industry and managing through that and looking forward into the year coming up. I've been blessed to be able to work with people that have sat on this board. I can't thank them enough for the effort they put in. The volunteering center committees. In addition to that, I also want to thank the staff of the SCSA for all the work and support and help and getting my got into trouble a few times for saying things I probably shouldn't, and all the work they put in behind the scenes, because if it wasn't for their effort, none of this would function properly, and it's been such a huge benefit and advantage for our industry. Having the people that over at the SCSA that have given us all this help over the years. So before I go to the board members, I want to thank the staff of the SCSA for all the help they've given us and for all the work that they've put in for our industry. It's appreciated and it's absolutely noticed. So I'd like to introduce your board members. If you don't mind, just stand up when I say your name and raise your hand. Keith Bird. John Desjardins. I'm Hungarian, not French, so John's not here. Errol Fisher. Dion Malakoff. Mark Nowakowski. Sat as my vice chair. Thank you, Mark. Dana Pidell. And Mike Scriven. So we've got a few motions that we're going to be going through throughout the annual general meeting here. Just as a reminder to everybody, only B-rate vote companies are allowed to vote, and there's only one single vote per company. So you're given 2 cards, pink or the blue one, explanations on the table. Blue is for or approved, and pink is opposed. So we'll get into section 2 of the agenda, adoption of the agenda. And as we go through the meeting, I'm going to be calling or asking for motions throughout the meeting. If you don't mind, if you're going to make a motion, put your hand up and please state your name. We've got minutes being kept to this, and we need to keep record of who's making motions. So if you don't mind, just put your hand up, state your name. First is the adoption of the agenda. If I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. And by the way, all the information, if you don't have the packages, it's all available online. You can get it afterwards or currently right now. Mike Scripnick, thank you, Mike. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Mark? Thanks, Mark. All in favor? Opposed? Are there any issues or changes that need to be made? Motion passed. Adoption of the minutes from March 25th, 2021. Previous minutes, if I can get a motion to accept.
I'll make that, Errol.
Errol, thank you. Second. Keith, thank you, Keith. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed, thank you. Business arising on the minutes. Is there anything that anybody would like to raise concerns or comments for business arising on previous minutes? If not, we'll move on to the annual report. The 2021 President's Award or report from the SCSA. It's been available online. You guys can look it up afterwards. SCSAonline.com. .ca. On the website. Chance. So please feel free to have a look at that. Comments from the chair. Right now, my comments are I'm stepping back from chair and handing over the reins to Daryl Fisher. So again, I want to thank everybody for their help. I look at kind of how industries performed in the past few years and how we've made it through this pandemic, supply chain issues, staffing issues. And looking forward into the future for Saskatchewan. It's funny on the way here, listening to the radio on the way over, and looking at the investment that we have in this province. And it's not just an investment in the province; it's an investment in the people of this province. The work that's coming up, we have a tremendous opportunity here. We're looking at a larger investment in this province in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. These are long-term projects. And not just for construction jobs, but for operational jobs afterwards. Around the Regina area, we've got canola crushers going in, we've got pulp mills, water plants, hospitals, schools, power stations going in. The construction industry is set for what I would say probably one of the busiest years in our history. The investment in this province was the biggest it's been in over 12 years, and they're saying right now probably the biggest ever. So there's huge opportunity for us right now, and we need to stay focused on not just the work that's coming in, but protecting the people that are in this province, protecting the workforce that's out there, getting that work done, sending them back home to their families, safe, sound, and bringing them back into work the next day. That's what's going to keep this province, running, going, and provide opportunity for not just ourselves, but for our kids, for the generations to come up. So. I'm extremely excited for the future of this province, and the potential of our industry, the raincoat industry, is going to be there to serve the communities and keep on building this amazing province we live in. Moving on, like I said, the President's report and the Chair's report is available online. Moving on to the 2021 Auditor's report, financial statements. Again, this is included in the annual report, pages 12 to 25. If I can get a motion to accept the annual report and auditor's report and financial statements as presented. Mike Scripnick. Second. Second. Dion Balcom, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed. Appointment for the 2022 auditor. I need to call for a motion to appoint KPMG for 2022 auditor. If I can get a motion.
I'll make that.
Daryl Fisher. Second.
I'll second that.
Mark, thank you, Mark. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed. Resolution regarding the acts of officers and directors. I need to call for a motion that all acts and decisions of the officers and directors of the Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association throughout 2021 will be ratified and approved. Can I get somebody to make that motion? Anybody coke companies out there, feel free to throw your hand up. Bird, second. Mike, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passed. Appointment of the 2022 Board of Directors. So we had a board meeting this morning. Our board, we have unfortunately lost a few members throughout the year, as you know, happens, people moving on to other industries around the province, or onto different roles. So we had a few board positions to fill this year. I'd like to thank the work the governance committee put in to seek out, find, as well as the SCSA staff helping us, supporting, as well as industry coming through for us for another position. Get some very, very qualified names forward. So I'd like to put forward those names: Brian Barber, Mike Badry, and Ben Miller. So I'd like to call for a motion to accept the state of the candidates as presented to be elected to the 2022 SCSA Board of Directors. Can I get a motion on that, please?
I'll make that motion.
Mark, thank you. A second? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed. Next, I'd like to introduce the incoming chair, Errol Fisher. I'm from Northridge. He's out of Saskatoon. I'm extremely happy for him to take it over. I know that the seat's going to be filled with experienced hands. Experienced block, I guess it's a seat. Errol's sat as chair prior to this. He's been an excellent advocate of the SCSA, the work that they do, and has really been a leader, especially in the residential industry in Saskatchewan, on bringing safety throughout the residential industry. Works for a core company, core certified company, audited safety program, and like I said, sat in the chair before, has tremendous experience. I'm so glad to be able to hand it off to somebody with qualifications of Errol. So, Errol, thank you very much for agreeing to accept the nomination. So you go to stand up, Errol. So, everybody, Errol Fisher. I'd like to introduce, introduction for the 2022 Board of Directors. I'd like to introduce the SCSA Board of Directors for 2022, if you're interested. Again, there's earlier, Errol Fisher, so the new board will be Errol Fisher, Keith Bird, John Desarle, Dion Malakoff, Mark Nowakowski, Dana Pidell, Mike Skripnik, Brian Barber, Mike Badry, Ben Miller, Brian Smith. And for my portion, I guess I just need a motion to adjourn for the main portion of the AGM. Can I get somebody to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Dion, thank you very much. And so now my part of this is done. I'd like to pass it over. We have, after the adjournment of the formal annual meeting, we're going to have an armchair discussion with Colin Tuer, the SCSA president, and Greg Tuer, who's the Deputy Minister of Labor Relations and Workplace Safety. Next few minutes here, I'm really looking forward to hearing what they have to say. And thank you.
Check, check. All right. Got my singing voice ready. Which side will we go on? Yeah, okay. Well, again, welcome and thank you for coming today. It's certainly a pleasure to be able to get together in person. I think this is my 5th event in 8 days that I've been able to be at. Something was like nothing, and all of a sudden everybody wants to just collect. So it's great to have you. Before we even get started, we have you've got some wonderful things on your table there, including these very spongy hard hats. They are not intended to be thrown at us. They're intended to take home, but just to be safe in case you do need to throw them, they won't hurt us. Second thing is, I believe Emery is, no, you can't throw it up. Oh, sorry, okay. Emery, are we live? We are live, okay. So this is more of a warning for Greg to be very polite to me because we are streaming this portion live and will be recorded so folks can watch on their social media feeds, etc. So first of all, I want to just take the opportunity to introduce Greg Tuer. Greg is been the Deputy Minister of Labor Relations and Workplace Safety for, is it been officially a year or not quite?
Between acting and permanent, yeah. It's been
Yeah, a year. Okay. And there's quite a story, which I don't know if I'll have an opportunity to get into necessarily today, but Greg has been in that role for a year. But prior to that has been in several other roles, has been the Assistant Deputy Minister at Labor Relations for a while, responsible for different areas. And his background has been much more in HR leadership. A lot of his work has been with the Public Service Commission with the province. And so we've had many conversations about leadership. I think today's going to be kind of focused on that, if I think so correctly. So first of all, if you could join me in welcoming Greg Tuer today here and put your hands together. Great, thanks. Well, Greg, just to start off and give some context, as Ryan had said earlier, we've got a lot of growth happening, or about to happen. Even last night I was talking to the Chief Procurement Officer for SAS Bills, and we were talking $18 billion in construction projects just on their books, not to mention all the kind of the related construction and renovation that has to happen in the province. And some of the challenges with having a limited labor pool, not just in the province, but right across Canada right now. And just kind of thinking, like, how do we deal with the complexity of some of these HR challenges in the context of we've got limited folks, we've got to protect the assets, and so I just wonder if you just had any just general comments on that before we go in.
Well, don't need to tell the people here in the room that there's a tremendous opportunity with the amount of investment that's being put into capital projects in the province. I was even thinking yesterday that we have another year of the tax credit for just home renovations. So construction, tiny and large, there's lots of opportunity out there. But as you say, Colin, there is a limited labor force and lots of jobs out there. I think our experience has been historically, people might get into construction or other types of roles and not really understand the risks that are out there for them. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about leadership and safety in a minute, but I think with that opportunity comes a lot of new entrants into the sector to find more investment opportunity there. From our perspective, I think the biggest thing that we want to reinforce is, and Colin was sharing an example with me at lunch, of an employer who's been talking to his staff about, when the folks from Occupational Health and Safety in particular show up, let's engage. Let's have a conversation. Let's do this as a partnership. That's very much over the last year the type of sorts of things we've been discussing in the ministry. We are a regulatory agency. As I've said to Colin, I think at times we've become a little enamored with our badges, and we've been really trying to reinforce with our staff that employers, workers, safety associations, industry associations, ourselves. You've got a group there that really has an interest in making sure that employees go home safely at the end of the day. That there are no injuries, there are no fatalities. And I think that the biggest thing for us as we look at the opportunities coming forward is we really want to make sure that we're acting as a partner with employers, with organizations of their own, to try to make workplaces safer.
Well, in that way, what's new? What does Greg bring new in terms of the organization, and what's new with LRWS? And we talked about culture a little bit, but maybe you have some thoughts on or things you want to share on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yesterday we did our budget address for our staff, and so our budget is very much status quo. We're a tiny little ministry of government, basically a rounding error. But what's new is that when a year and a half ago when I was transferred back to LRWS, so I previously been the executive director of employment standards for about 7 years. Went back to the PSC HR mothership for 2.5 years and got transferred back. But when my boss at the time and I were transferred back, the marching orders we had was the work being done in LRWS is good work, but we really need to put a focus on education, working with employers, working with workers, education and compliance over enforcement. But that's what's new with me. I think what I've been talking to staff a lot about is just the need to, we're legally required to be a regulator, but how we give them up to, how we interact with folks like the people here in the room, how we interact with our partners at WCB through WorkSafe, making sure that we are stepping up and being helpful, making sure that when we have legislative or regulatory changes, and that seemed to be a regular business for us over the last years related to COVID, making sure that we have resources that are easy to use, easy to understand, so that anyone can pick it up and understand, okay, here's my obligation with this new regulation. Here's what I need to do in my workplace. So that's the focus, at least those are my marching orders, the focus that I brought. And so hopefully that translates and people are able to see that.
Okay. So from a practical perspective, like Eric, even just talking in terms of giving an example of that, and just what that might look like, and even just a general example from a leadership perspective. How would you see an interaction flowing? What would be a good interaction and a bad interaction? Maybe you're to give us an example that would provide some contrast.
Well, I won't name the employer, but here's a specific bad example from almost exactly a year ago. We had 2 occupational health and safety officers who were about to go and do an inspection of an employer. And at that time, we were wearing body cameras to a lot of our inspections. And the employer was saying, no, I don't want you in here with your body cameras on. The call I got was, hey, we want to call the police to help us get onto this workplace. And the sticking point was the body camera. And sorry, this was a joint inspection with public health, so it was COVID related. So what I reinforced with those, well, I was executive director, but reinforced with the officers was, the goal here is to get on the workplace, work with that employer. If there are risks that we can identify, help them identify them, and then point them to the resources that help them. In that case, we were more worried about flexing our muscle and showing our badges, wanting to get into a desktop over our ability to get on the workplace, rather than focusing on what's the outcome we're trying to get to here. And that's a safe workplace. And so maybe that's an example of the latter being really the goal is, let's get in there, let's work with the employer, let's help identify risks. If we've helped identify something, yes, sometimes we have to write in summary offense or an officer's report. But through that, make sure we're on the tail end of that, helping people understand where there are resources, where there's, again, organizations like yours, where people can go to and get some assistance.
Thanks, Greg. We've talked about, and our board has talked heavily about constructing safety leadership. You'll see that on materials and a little bit of where that came from was, see on our sign here, was that there was a belief that, yes, we need to educate people and provide training opportunities, awareness opportunities, so people can know and understand, I'm going to say, basically the technicals of what they have to do. But it was equally important, if not more important, that there be a high level of engagement at the leadership level. Not that our leaders, companies, are necessarily become the safety experts, but they're the one who drive. They drive all of this. They drive behaviors and model behaviors. And we felt very much that was something that was really important in the ministry as well. Part of that, not just what you do, but how you do it. Do you want to share a little bit, some of your thoughts around it?
Ditto, can I just say ditto? But I do think it starts at the top, that you know, focusing on safety in this example, that the behaviors or what we reinforce or how we reward people, if the goal is just to get through this project, get it slapped up and go on to the next, what risks are you making into it? As it relates to the ministry, I think for us, what does leadership look like as it relates to our newer direction is the relationship you and I have built over the last year, the relationship that our executive director of Occupational Health and Safety is building, reaching out to all of the safety associations and some employers as we get to know people, to make sure that people know that we're here. And as our staff see us walking that talk, then that gives them permission to do the same.
Yeah, and that's very much that modeling of the behaviors and saying, well, how do you two engage, and how do you engage with other business owners, and does that give me permission to behave a certain way when I'm working with somebody in that organization? Great point. Can we shift to technology a little bit, or innovation generally? And because we've had some conversations around that I think are fairly powerful. Context, we had a leadership conference about a year ago, and a couple of people on our construction panel talked about the use of technology, about our industry has not necessarily benefited in the same way as other industries have in terms of productivity and the use of technology to become more productive. We haven't had the same gains. And in that same time, we've been, us as an association, I know others as well have been engaging in tools like analytics and other platforms to become more productive, to inform decision makers with better intelligence. And just some of your thoughts on that. I know we shared some of these tools with some of your folks on the team, but I know you've seen some other things and had some other thoughts on that.
Yeah, first, I think, fortunate to attend a couple presentations at the incubator, Innovation SaaS partners, but I was really impressed with some of the technology that's starting to be taken from other sectors and applied to the construction sector. Some of the things about remote workers and things like that we've been able to see. So really impressed with that. But you mentioned analytics. And to me, I think analytics are so important for us as it relates to safety. Knowing where, what the injuries are that we're encountering, when they happen, what types of injuries we're seeing the most. We really structured our entire targeted intervention strategy around that, working with those employers that have the most injuries. In the past, we would just kind of randomly go on inspections, but we made a determination that no, we need to take more of a sniper rifle approach to this and determine who do we need to work with in order to improve safety. And we've seen, by working with those organizations, we've seen significant improvements in safety. We're right in the process right now through WorkSafe of doing consultations around a new serious injury and fatality strategy. Again, who can we identify that's out there that has a strong safety record, and what can we learn from them? All of that is driven by analytics. We need to have that information. We need to be able to determine where are the hot spots, or what's the opposite of a hot spot? Where are the leaders, and how can we learn from them? So to me, that's just fundamental to having a good safety program.
I'll put in the shameless plug for the platform that our team has worked to, not necessarily we're developing ourselves with our partners, but being able to draw from multiple sources of information, not just injury data, but training data, auditing data, culture, survey data, to kind of paint a picture of possibilities for that company. In a lot of ways, become very predictive. Provide some predictive analytics so people can see the trends and where they may be going, and many of those, much of that engine is actually beginning to be used in the supplier program here in the province as well. So as people are putting together bid packages, they've got some core information that they can share with procurement. And I know we had an opportunity to do a bit of a demo with some of your team, and the response was pretty, it was early for us, really, but just in terms of our launch, but something that I think was pretty well received by your team, so I appreciate that. Just in terms of other emerging technology, and maybe this is, I mean, some of your team they're actually involved with the Innovation Challenge with us, and we'll be announcing, the Minister for Innovation will be announcing later in April 27th, which we put another shameless plug in for, an event where some wearable technology will be displayed, and I think it's kind of cool having an opportunity to work with the company on that. Thank you for providing some assistance in that area. Where do you see the future going in technology to be able to support even what you're doing, or us as safety associations and our collaborations?
I just realized I left my phone sitting there on the table, and I think that's the farthest I've been away from it in probably years. But to me, there's so much. You mentioned wearable technologies. There is so much going on in technology, and the opportunities to have apps. I know we saw a presentation from one company where basically they can come up and scan your reader, and they can tell you everybody on the work site what training they've had, what training they need to have, the type of work that they are. And that, historically, that probably would have been kept in a dozen files, binders of files, right? And so I just see the access to information, the ability to use information real time, being a path that we're headed down.
In terms of other future trends or future things coming down the pipe from with the ministry or government in general as it pertains to safety, because I realize it's just not your ministry that has interest in safety. Anything you can talk about, whether it's from the budget or not from the budget, I think probably the long-term trends would be interesting for folks to hear.
Yeah, I think real practically from our ministry right now. Just last fall, we started our consultations on the occupational health and safety parts of Saskatchewan employment. So we have written right into legislation every 10 years we have to review each part. So in the fall, we had an open consultation. We posted some papers, sent some invitations out to a number of employers and organizations to participate. We're just in the process right now of reviewing what we've heard back. I think what you'll see in the fall coming up is the results of that, and likely some changes to our act. Year after that, we'll be doing the employment standards part, so taking a look at hours of work, leaves, all that sort of stuff again. So you'll regularly see legislative changes coming from us. If we have another year like we just had, we probably had a half dozen legislative and regulatory changes that just came up, and it kind of emerged. There was an issue out there in the world, and we had to address it. So you're going to see more change in legislation. You're going to see more opportunities to consult with us, more opportunities to provide feedback. Through that whole cycle, it's going to be ask questions, develop legislation, ask questions, develop regulations, and keenly interested in making sure that the legislation that we do develop is relevant to today's workplace. And the only way we can do that is by talking to folks. So I think, specifically just speaking of our ministry, that's the one place I can promise you you're going to see some changes.
And one of the things I appreciated, and I realized that, it's particularly noticed when you came into the role that there's been an orientation in your office towards, I don't want to say public engagement, but a method of engaging various industries in a consultation process. I know like Teddy and others that are kind of set up to help do that. Should we and can we expect, and what kind of a format would you see us supporting the ministry by providing advice or engaging employers in that consultation process? What would that look like?
I think again we have our formal processes. You'll see that on the Saskatchewan.ca website. Get invitations. But the other thing you speak to is we've kind of informally run an engagement strategy right now. To me, that really means just going out and talking to people, introducing ourselves, making sure that we've established that we're not just the big bad regulator that you don't want to see show up at your door. That we are in fact an organization that's responsible for labor legislation here, and we do want to make sure it's relevant. And the only way we're going to do that is by talking to people. We do a formal environmental scan that involves taking a look at what are the trends going on across the world, but there's also the picking up the phone and talking to people and finding out what are the real issues. And so when you talk about, I think I heard you say, how can we help you? That's what I wanted to hear you say.
Sure, why don't we say that?
But it's just that we have again been reinforcing with our staff that when there's opportunities to go and talk to organizations like this, and there's opportunities to go and talk to specific employers and folks, that we make ourselves available and that we listen. And if there's concerns about how we're conducting ourselves, that means picking up the phone, calling me or calling Samima Hawk, who's our ADM. But we want to make sure that people are aware that the communication lines are open and going 2 ways.
Well, first of all, not just I speak for a number of folks really appreciate. I know in the fall, but back in the fall, I think it was just before we kind of locked down the game, that you made yourself available for a couple of events. And as I think we get to a more normalized level of being able to gather like this, we'll be able to do that in a predictable fashion. And so that'll be really appreciated for sure. I'm monitoring the time because I know we're approaching 1 o'clock and folks do need to get to work. But Greg, I know you had some comments that you were perhaps wanting to share, and just kind of diving in quickly and give you an opportunity to maybe share those. So I apologize, but any other thoughts that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
I'm laughing because we've got an incredible communications executive director. And so when she found out I was coming here, she's given me, 20 pages of
A small book.
of speaking notes. And I think we've really, I've hit the high points. I think for me, when Colin and I first talked about this, what has changed in the ministry? Well, I think, the what hasn't changed, but hopefully the how has changed. What's coming down the pipe for the ministry? Yes, there's legislative change. We continue to work with other provinces on harmonizing things in the occupational health and safety world. And so, we've done first aid, currently working our way through fall protection. We'll now be looking at first aid training is the next step that's coming. So those are all things that you can expect. But I think overall, the biggest key message for me to reinforce is we really do want to be a partner. We have a specific role as a regulator, but we want to work with safety organizations, industry associations, employers to make sure that people go home safely. That's the big message from us.
Awesome. Well, Greg, thank you. Thanks for taking time and having some lunch with us. Sharing it, and again, we're quickly approaching 1 o'clock, and I want to be sure to respect your time. Thank you for those who've come here to be in person, and those who are watching on the live stream, and didn't have an opportunity bring somebody here, certainly. This will be saved online as well, so they'll be able to watch this later. And hopefully in the future we'll be able to do something like this again. Is that okay for folks? Is that enjoy the conversation? Okay. So yeah, that's I don't have a date here that I can pull on my phone. It's sitting over the sidebars, I think. So, but I'd love to have you come back and talk again. Really appreciate the engagement. Again, thank you to the folks at Real. I want to thank our team and thank our board of directors who committed over the last year, but for some last few years, and welcome our new board members to the association. And folks, if you have a few minutes, I don't know if you're here for a few minutes, have an opportunity. If you haven't met Greg and want to come up and say hello, that would be great. So other than that, thank you. Have a great day. Have a safe trip home, and I hope to see you again next year. Okay, appreciate it. Bye.